Okay, guys. So we have lots of announcements, but I'm going to wait to the end for that. I'm going to let Kelly go ahead and start. Kelly, we love Kelly Lee. That is like a fact. She is precious. She is amazing. She has a heart of gold, and her story is one that we've all fallen in love with. We have fallen in love with her family, and she's going to talk about that. But she's just like one of the best people in the entire world. And so I'm just going to leave it at that and let Kelly tell her story and talk about what she wants to talk about. And then we'll do all the announcements at the end because I want her to like have all the time that she needs. So take it away.
Thanks, Beth. And I just want to say, just shout out to y'all's leaders are absolutely gold. And I know that you know that. But I was just thinking back of just kind of thinking through my story, and y'all have such a part of it because when I first brought my little baby daughter to our first jewel training, y'all both rocked her to sleep and cried for the story and just, what God was going to do through it as we were just started fostering these little children, which I'll tell you more about. And so y'all have such an important part of our lives in this story. So, and I wouldn't have known y'all if it weren't for Plexus. So it's just crazy. It's just awesome. So, love you too. So I'll start. I want to tell y'all, I wrote this a couple of weeks, actually it's probably been a couple of months ago, when I was at Jewel Training, the second round of Jewel Training in Phoenix. And we had a coach there. You've probably heard of Preston Pugmire, and he asked some questions that I want to leave y'all with, okay? So write these down if you're taking some notes, because it's something that it just really kind of got to me and made me think about. And I refer to this a lot, especially when I tell my story, because the way that he just kind of pulls things out of you to just break it down to like the bare bones, like what is your gut saying? What's really going on inside your heart? And so these are the questions. Okay. So he said, ask yourself, close your eyes and ask yourself, before I joined Plexus, what was my story? What was I experiencing? What were my relationships like? What was my bank account like? What was my mindset like? And what did I think about me? And so he just gave us like maybe 3 to 5 minutes to just kind of stream of consciousness, just write this out. And this is what I wrote. And then I'll go into some more details about my story, but I just thought this really just kind of summed it all up for where I was before God put Plexus in our lives. I was hungry for more. I was tired. I was anxious. And I knew there was so much more for me. I felt underappreciated for my efforts. I wanted more personal freedom and challenge. I was on the outside watching everyone else live while I worked tirelessly, yet never getting ahead. Time was slipping away and I wanted more meaning. I wanted a family. So is that like crazy? Like he just asked this question. I'm like, okay, and it somehow it just tied it up in a bow. That's exactly how I felt before Plexus. So I'll tell you a little bit, just kind of in detail, like where we were in our lives, to kind of give you a fuller picture. And then I'm going to give you a couple of tips. So when I first started Plexus, first of all, I had done one or two other network marketing companies before. And although I firmly believed in the business model, okay, and the companies that I was with, it was crazy freaking hard. And I tried my best and been there, done that, had a garage full of products, and just felt like, man, I just don't, if there's something about me that this wasn't working for. And so I was doing those alongside a restaurant career. So that's kind of where I come from. I oversaw a local restaurant management company. And so I led and trained teams and opened new stores. And that was kind of my wheelhouse. So, and I love that. I love the people. I loved, that it wasn't the same thing every day. I love training people and serving people. So that's what I did. My husband has been in full-time ministry as a youth pastor for over 20 years, college and youth. over 20 years. We served at our last church for 17. He was there for 17 years on staff at this church. We thought we were going to retire there, and it was a great place. And I decided that, okay, I'd had enough of the restaurant business. We always wanted to open our own. So we went to the bank, got a $250,000 loan, and we're about to sign the lease on the dotted line for a beautiful downtown building. When the landlord said, okay, this spot's not going to work for us, we want you on the other side, which was double the square footage. And I'm like, no. And Jared had been watching a lot of his college friends duplexes for like 6 months. Like he was just watching them like quickly, 6 to 9 months. And they were moving and grooving and having fun together. Like it wasn't just one person. It was like them and all their friends and their sisters and their, moms and their husbands. And he said, babe, you need to look at this. And I said, no, I don't think so. I'm glad all your friends are doing well, but, I don't think that's for me. And so when we got the news that the landlord was changing things on us, I was just at the kitchen table, like kind of bawling my eyes out saying, God, why? What am I supposed to do now? Like this was my life goal. And Jared said, look, babe, I don't care if you do plexus or don't do it, but just know what you're saying no to at least. And by the way, I set you up on a phone call with my friend Celeste on Monday at 10 a.m. I was like, what? Like, what? So I didn't know her, y'all. And so I honored that and I got on the phone. And 3 days before I got on the phone, I was doing some mad research on, mainly my research was on the ingredients. I worked at a raw vegan restaurant, so super, super particular. Okay. And I mainly researched the integrity of the leadership of the company. That was pretty much bar none to me because I wanted to know that whatever I did, this was going to be it for me. This was it for me. So if I was going to go work for someone else, but be my own boss, it had to check out like above and beyond. And it did. So when I got on the phone, y'all, I had 200 Facebook friends. I don't think I even knew how to make a post. I don't think I'd ever made a Facebook post in my life. Now I would get on every once in a while on my way to and from work on my 1 hour commute, and I would kind of scroll and see what people were up to, but I didn't know how to work Facebook. And, it was really sad. So I was terrified because the first and pretty much the only thing, and that'll bring you to my point number 1 for y'all is to keep it simple. Okay. Keep it simple. And this is what she told me when I clicked join. She said, so I'm there, right? I'm a trainer. I train people. I make up training systems. So I'm like there with my big fat notebook and my pen. And I'm like, tell me what to do because I got to make money and I got to make it fast. And I'm coachable. So I got my pen out and I'm ready to take notes. And she says, post on Facebook, share with anybody that you think needs plexus and, just give them samples. I mean, it's so simple. And I'm like, okay, great. Next, point number 2. She said, that's it. I just have a little spiral notebook where I keep my contacts and just kind of write little notes on what I've shared with them or what they've asked me. And that was it. And y'all, I think that's what great leaders do is they can take out all the extras and bear it down to what matters most. Okay. Because how many other things do you think were going through my head? I got to learn about the products. I got to learn about this. But I'm coachable. And she said, do it. And so I did. Okay. Did I go and learn all about the products? Yes. But did that stop me from taking step number 1 that she told me to do? It didn't. So my first post, I had no idea what I was even talking about, y'all. And I just said, I started a new company and I'm excited about it. And it's a wellness company. And it was like maybe a small little paragraph. And people started asking me because you matter. Like it doesn't matter who else is doing this business. You're the difference maker for someone. Like you saying it can be the tipping point for those people in your lives that relate to you. Okay. They're going to identify with you. And so that's what I did. I stepped out in fear, straight up fear. Like I'm sweating, y'all. We'd been at the same church for, my husband's on staff. I thought, what are people going to think? Here's Kelly making an intro into Facebook. Oh, of course, she's trying to sell something. that was what I was scared of, but it didn't stop me because I knew I had something to offer. I believed in it and I'm coachable. So I just did it. So that's my point number one. Don't let things stop you. Keep it simple. So 13 months later, we made it to Emerald. Our team shot up to Emerald, and it was incredible. It gave us the freedom to move. My husband was called to a new church to serve on staff with his best friend from grade school. And, God just did all this. He laid all these things out. That's pretty much the whole point of my story, and probably all of ours, right? Is just to be obedient, I think, when God calls you to do something, because he can see way ahead of what we can see. And he was preparing the way. Okay. I didn't know that we were going to need to that I didn't know that we were going to be called away from this church. I didn't know that my husband's best friend, who was the pastor, was going to be diagnosed with stage 4 stomach cancer, and that we were going to be able to walk through that with him and his family for the next 4 years because we had Plexus Freedom. Because we had Plexus Freedom, we were able to do that. It didn't matter what the salary was at that job. Nothing mattered. We sold our house, we moved, bought a little farmhouse, and I went into these bedrooms right up those stairs, and I prayed in those bedrooms that God would prepare the children that he wanted to fill this house with. My husband was adopted, and I am the oldest of 5 kids. So I wanted a house full of kids. Jared's like 2 and I'm like 6. And, and so God kind of met us in the middle. And a year after we moved into this house and this new church, we got a phone call from one of the parents of the girls in our college ministry. And she said, I have no idea why I'm calling you, but there are 4 children that we have a relationship with the biological mother, and she has dropped them with us, and they have no one. A 6-year-old boy, a 4-year-old boy, a 20-month-old boy, and an 11-week-old girl that was still in the hospital being treated with RSV, fighting for her life, hooked up to tubes with a collapsed lung. And the ladies in her Sunday school class had been going around the clock to rock her and hold her. And so we got that call on a Friday. Tuesday night, we went and picked up these little boys who had their faces to the glass screen door with like a coat 4 sizes too big for them in their arms. That's it. That's all they had. And we brought them home, and they've been here ever since. And about 19 months after that, we adopted them, and we just celebrated September 29th was our 2-year adoption anniversary. So that's our story. Let's see if I missed anything. Just to tell you guys, because of Plexus, I mean, how in the world, I had a full-time job working in restaurants, and we had a stack of papers on my desk for about a year, probably. It's pretty pathetic, to foster to adopt. Okay. And I never finished paperwork because I thought, well, I don't know what the next step's going to look like. I can't control this. How much time am I going to need off? How am I going to do this? Our family all lives in Texas. Like, I was kind of just not trusting God, honestly, and just thinking how much of this is not in my control. So I don't want to take the next step because I don't know what that next step's going to look like. And we were not qualified to foster. So we got a phone call, and then we were emergency certified. Like, we had to go to classes while we had 4 new baby children in our house. It was chaos, but we did it. And it's just humorous to me because even when you think, well, I got to get all this lined out. I need to know what this is going to look like, God. I need to know what my Plexus journey is going to look like, or I'm not going to do it. Like, that's not the way it works, y'all. It's put one step in front of the other. Be obedient. Don't settle. That's another one of my points is don't settle. If you know in your gut that there's something more for you, not everybody has that feeling. I don't think. But for those of us that do, that you cannot settle for the life that you have if you know that you're being called to more. Okay. And so did God let that stop him? Like, oh, you got a stack of paperwork? You're not going to do it? Okay, no problem. Here's a phone call. Here's some kids. And I prayed in that bedroom upstairs There's a big bedroom up there, and I just prayed, like, okay, God, I think I can fit a couple of bunk beds in here. Maybe Jared would let me adopt. All of one gender is like having one kid, right? So unless it's boys, and I said maybe Jared will let us adopt. Like all of one gender. Maybe I can convince him to get 3 boys. There were 3 little baskets underneath our vanity that was here when we bought the house. And I thought, okay, I could put little boys' names on all those little baskets, put their pajamas in there and their bath toys in there. I had it all lined out, although I had done nothing to make it so, right? And I thought, well, maybe somewhere down the road, maybe then I can put a little baby girl in this other bedroom that we have up here. But I wonder how the boys would react if it's not their sibling, and wonder how long it would be before we could make that happen. And y'all, I hadn't even done any paperwork. And we got a call, 3 boys and their baby sister, and they're all biological, and um, they're all siblings. So it's just insane. But because of Plexus, because of the way that God used Plexus in our lives, we could say yes without even fear, no hesitation. Like um, diapers, no problem. I don't even know how much diapers cost, y'all. I'm like, okay, buy them, whatever, it's fine. Got 2 in diapers, buy diapers. Formula, because I'm a freak. I bought formula from Europe because I wanted the cleanest ingredients ever, and of course, I'm dropping probio in all these kids, uh, whatever they're eating, mostly their bottle or their scrambled eggs, because I knew I needed to beef up their immune system. They came to us without having a home, and the younger 2 were both hospitalized with RSV, and we were told they would have severe asthma all their lives. They've never had a doctor's visit. Okay, like they've never been sick, knock on wood. But man, you cannot pry those vitamins out of their hands, I'll tell you that. It's a fight every morning. I get to pass out the vitamins. Who gets to pass out the vitamins? So it's just amazing. Clothes, they had no clothes. We didn't have the simple things like a step stool for the bathroom, toothbrushes, toothpaste, like all those things that you don't even think about that you get gradually over time. We had to get like in 2 shopping trips. Jared was able to go part-time so that I didn't completely lose my mind. This is before Vital Biome. Okay. And he went part-time at church, and now he just volunteers in the positions that he was already doing. And he's daddy. He coaches Little League and Upward Sports at church. And we parent and run our business and our household together. So it's incredible, y'all. So my points, I'll come back to that. And if you have questions, y'all can ask. But my 3 points that I want to encourage y'all to keep in mind is, number 1, keep it simple for yourselves and for your team. Okay. When you give someone more than one thing to do, the chances of them doing it like diminish. Okay. So just give them one thing to do. And when they do that, say, great job. That's awesome. Because I think sometimes we take for granted how scary it is just stepping out and making that first step. And just remember, if you're feeling overwhelmed, like, oh my goodness, there's so many trainings. Oh gosh, there's so many things to do. There are, but in your heart what that next step is for you to move the needle forward in your business. And it's probably the thing you've been procrastinating the most. And it's probably something super simple. Okay. Number 2 is don't settle. If you know that there's more for you, then there is. Because I feel like God puts that in your heart, that yearning, that desire, and Plexus may not be the be all end all of your career. Like it's a provision for you to do the things that you are called to do. Whatever that is in your life. Maybe it's to serve people. What a vehicle to be able to do that. Maybe it's to, finance things that you feel like you're called to do. And number 3 is to use your setbacks. Okay. I had done network marketing before with somewhat success. But I kind of felt like that was a setback for me. I have setbacks every day, and I'm sure all of your leaders would raise their hand and say, I've had setbacks, or I'm currently experiencing a setback. Like, it's normal. Okay. If you're not experiencing setbacks, then you're not working. Right. I always encourage my team from the very beginning, like, setbacks are good, because if you don't have a setback, then how in the world are you going to be relatable when your team has setbacks? Because they do. Everyone does. Yours may not look exactly like theirs, but it puts you in that place of, I know, I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to hit a wall. I know what it feels like to go backwards. I know what it feels like to be scared. Um, all of those things are normal. So, and that makes you relatable. So, those are my three. I don't know how I did on time, but
Well, you did amazing, and you could just keep talking, and I had to keep it together because your story is just absolutely incredible. And I know it because I knew you when so much of it was happening. But like, I want everybody in the world to listen to this because it's so true. Like, you had no idea what saying yes to Plexus was going to do for your family, that you didn't even know what your family looked like. And when you talk about, like, every time you talk about, when I hear your story, talk about the baskets, like, it's just, I mean, that you are so specific in praying in those rooms, and God just blessed you. And I agree a million times about being obedient. But I love your story, and I love how God has used Plexus for you. And I just love being your friend because I love you. But anyways, guys, do y'all have any questions for her? Y'all can type them in the chat. I'm like, yes, she is. Isn't that where you're from?
yep.
Yep.
That's
Yes.
where my family is right now.
Hey, so tell us will you tell us a little bit, like, what everybody's day looks so different, but like, you're a diamond and you have 4 kids, and you went diamond while you went from 0 kids to 4 kids overnight. And so I know so many times people are like, I don't have time, I can't fit in my schedule. Like, will you tell us about that? Like, what that looked like, and maybe what it looks like now, or,
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So when I first started Plexus, my life looked very different because I didn't have 4 children and I had said no to the job. So I poured everything I had into it. But what I tell people is that I have a lot of people that ask me, well, Kelly, I just can't wait till I can quit my job. When I'm at Ruby, I'll quit my job and then I can do Plexus more. But it doesn't work like that, because it doesn't also, like, you can't work Plexus full time. Like, there's just not that much work to do. Now you can socialize with Plexus people full time, but there's not, like, the bread and butter of your income isn't going to take 20 hours, maybe 20 hours a week, if that. But the most productive people are the ones who squeeze it into like an hour a day, honestly, 15-20 minute increments, an hour a day. Like, if you, I think number one, it takes being organized, right? And you don't have to be organized, but you're going to feel more at peace if you're a little bit more organized. What my days look like now, I have to beat my kids out of bed, because if I don't, like, my day is crazy. So if I beat my kids out of bed, then I can get a handle on the day. And what I've learned is that if I prepare the night before, I heard this recently on a podcast and I thought, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. Your day starts the night before. And in theory, that sounds like, okay, yeah, duh. But really, if you go to bed at a decent hour, because like my husband's a night owl, so I would stay up like really late with him and then be so behind in the morning. But if I think about what I need to do tomorrow to move my business forward, maybe it's the relationships, maybe it's my personal reach outs, maybe it's my building relationships. Like, I have to get that prepared mentally the night before. And so the next day I can just go into it and it's quick. Whenever I check my stuff off earlier in the day, I feel so much less anxiety about my business. Because if I don't do that, then all day long I'm thinking about, oh my gosh, I need to do this. Oh my goodness. And then I feel like I'm like doing Plexus all day, even though I'm not. I'm working myself up feeling guilty. So I think that's hugely important, is just to be prepared and just do like the top 1, 2, or 3 things max. And it's like I said before too, it's, you usually know what's going to move the needle forward in your business. And those are usually the things that you're like, yeah, but I don't want to do a live on my team page, or, I'm a little nervous about doing this, or I don't want to call that person even though they've been on my heart for the last month. Or I don't want to check in out with that customer because I'm afraid she's not going to be happy. Like, just do it. Just do it, because then you're going to have like so much more energy and momentum about it. And it's not going to be like weighing you down. Where if you're at all like me, and if you're an achiever, then I know that you feel this, you're going to feel guilty because you're not doing the things that you know you should be doing, even though they're just very simple, quick things.
Tell me this too. I have one more question for you. So you moved to a different part of Oklahoma, and you have a team in Texas, and you have a team all over the place. So I know a lot of people say, well, my team's not right here, I can't do stuff. Tell us what that looks like for you. Like, what does your team being all over look like for you, and how you communicate with them? We talk about how communication is key, building culture. What does that look like for you and your team?
Okay, I like that question. First of all, I think it's really important, just our mentality about that, because I hear people say all the time, well, yeah, but she lives so far away, or, I can't do this. My sponsor's over here, or can you find me someone that's closer to me that I can, and camaraderie and relationships is so important. I believe that, but geography has nothing to do with your success in Plexus. And I mean, that's been exampled time and time again, right? So we've got to take that out of our vocabulary. We've got to take it out of our thought processes, that I would be more successful if I lived by my sponsor, or I would be more successful if, my team lived close to me. Like, it's just not true. And what I see a lot too is, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I think sometimes we feel like we're working Plexus because we're going to coffee with our Plexus friends. Okay. Does anybody identify with that? Like, it's like, oh, I worked Plexus today. Well, did you reach out to anybody? Did you do anything to move the needle forward in your business? And if you are, that's awesome. Like, having power hours together is great. But I just think sometimes being close to your team can kind of stifle you a little bit. It can kind of make you feel a false sense of success, even though we're not like doing the work. But I do say this, if you early on in my business, and now as much as I can, I love to get face to face with people. Like, I think that's something that we've kind of lost a little bit sometimes. I mean, technology is awesome, and this is face to face. I think this counts. This is face to face. But anytime you can get in a room with some people, if you guys are doing Sip and Seas right now, or you've done Sip and Seas, your percentage of signups is freaking astronomical. So if you can launch someone by going there and getting in a room with some people, even if the people don't show up, and your new team member is like hungry, and you spend that quality time bonding with them, in their first 30 days or 60 days, even if that works out, I think that's very critical. But does that answer your question a little bit, Beth?
Yeah, it does, because I see you do it. I know what you do, and a lot of times people say, I can't. Like, I know you come to Texas some, and people know that I travel some. Like, we get when we first started that we could not have done that, like 1,000,000%, and that's totally fine. But you could get on a Zoom like this. I've literally had one-on-one Zooms like this, and I feel like I'm going to reach out and grab somebody's baby. Like, I might grab Sammy Shay right now because she's crawling on the ground right there. You know what I mean? Like, this is personal because you're getting face to face, and it's so much better than a text, because you can see, you can hear, you can show your passion, you can talk, you can be real, you can be vulnerable. Whereas a text, it's black and white, right? And so it's that emotion that is so important in our lives in so many different ways, but this is a huge way as well. Okay, one more question. I know I said that was my last one, but y'all, if y'all have questions, please put them in the chat, and then we're gonna let her go because we want to be on her time. Okay, so you said you were very coachable, right? So tell me how you so say you have a new ambassador, and they can sign ambassadors, but it doesn't go past that. Like, they're signing ambassadors, but they're not getting their team to duplicate. Like, how do you encourage, how do you coach, how do you teach people to do that? Because guys, in growing our team, you can sign 500 ambassadors level ones. And if they never sign anybody, you're never going to grow in the business the way that you want to grow. So does it make sense? How do you coach duplication down the line? Yes, we can get people to sign people, but then how did they get people to sign people?
Yeah. Okay. I think, I think that's kind of a double-edged sword thing, because in my mind, first of all, I think the best way to coach people is to accentuate the positive. Okay. I think always, whether it's your children, your employees, or your teammates, in your Plexus organization, encourage what you know will make them successful. Okay. Because we can tell people to do stuff all day long, but if they don't want it themselves, then why are we going to waste our energy on it? Like my sponsor didn't say, hey, are you signing? Hey, are you doing this? Hey, are you doing that? In fact, that's pretty much, other than leading by example, that is all she told me to do. Like, well, I got a notebook and this is what I did. And that was it, y'all. She didn't call me every 2 weeks going, where are you at? What are you doing? Have you done this? Are your people doing this? Like, she led by example. She leads by example. And the people that are hungry are going to do it. The people that love people and want to take care of their customers, they're going to succeed. So I guess, Beth, to answer your question, I would say when you see someone doing something that you think that's going to move the needle in my business and in their business, and they're doing it right, highlight that all day long, because that's really the only thing you can control. You can't, at least that's kind of how I see it.
I love it. I love everything you said, because it's all about keeping it simple. It's about what we did 6.5 years ago when we started. We just shared Plexus. We didn't get bogged down by this and that and checking in and all of that. Yes, these things that we have now are great and fabulous, but I think so many times people get stuck at all the stuff, and you just need to keep it simple. And so from the very beginning, you said keep it simple. So last year said, this is what you do. Share it,
It's our job to encourage people. Like, you can't motivate people all the way to whatever their goal is. Like, you just have to encourage them and say, I see you. I see what you're doing, and I'm going to show everybody else what you're doing. Like, great job.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Okay. Does anybody have anything? Kelly, you're amazing.
Love y'all.
Anyone? Nope. Okay. Then I am going to let you go, but everybody don't hang up, because I want to talk about what's going on, because we have a couple team things going on right now. So, you're welcome to stay, Kelly, if you want, but I know you have things.
Thanks, y'all. Love y'all.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Okay. I'm actually going to stop recording for this.